Thank you very much, Vincent. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining in today's session. As you know, my name is Salma Malik, and I have recently completed my doctorate from the University of Auckland. My talk particularly focuses on targeting of young people during elections. And in this realm, I'll briefly discuss my doctoral study, which focused on the 2017 general elections, and as well as I will share my views and analysis of the 2020 elections. Now, the power of youth vote is frequently discussed, but it is also underestimated. And I found this while conducting a literature review for my study, that there is a need to conduct research focusing on targeted campaigning of young people, particularly during election campaigns. There is also a huge gap that I found in literature in the New Zealand context. Additionally, I could not find any theoretical model that could help understand ways in which political and communication elites can target young people in election campaigns or otherwise. So considering this, my doctoral study focused on the 2017 elections, and I looked into the both elite perspectives as well as the young people's perspectives. And I found that political parties mostly use mass targeting and do not particularly target young people. Now, why would they want to target? They just want to target because they want votes. And in order to get votes, they want to put their money behind people who are mostly likely to vote. Because of the popular belief that young people often do not vote, that makes the elite think twice before investing in this particular segment of the population. Therefore, I just found a economic democratic deficit, I would say, in which putting money behind people who are going to vote. I also found that organizational culture within political parties also have a role, which has a say in which segments will be targeted. And in particularly case of New Zealand, I found from interviewing the political elites that young people are often neglected and excluded from that. I also found that there's a gap in literature regarding youth wings targeting young people. So this is the gap that I found not only in literature, but in the case of New Zealand as well. So youth wings, which have an immense potential of reaching young people, they were not used to target young people particularly. I also found in my research for the 2017 elections that young people in New Zealand are not uninterested. It's just that they do not understand the tangible effect that politics has on their lives. They also felt and communicated that they feel disconnected from politics, and that conveyed that political parties only get in touch with them when they need votes, and that is particularly during the election campaigns. Towards the end of my doctoral study, I was also able to develop a model that offers prescriptive advice to elites and practitioners to use appropriate techniques and strategies to target and communicate with young people. Now, using this model, I was also able to analyze the 2020 elections. And I did not find any noticeable difference between the 2017 and the 2020 elections in terms of youth-targeted campaigning. The political parties, again, they preferred a mass-focused approach with a one-size-fits-all approach. And looking at the Facebook data and the campaign messaging that I was reviewing for the 2020 election, I could see the same ad with the same post, with the same kind of messaging, the same kind of visuals that was targeting 18 to 24 years old, and the same post was used to target a 60-plus person. So there was clearly a disconnect in using the appropriate techniques, the appropriate content, and the appropriate message to particularly target young people. Also, I found for 2020 election that COVID shaped the campaign messages. This was really interesting because looking at the vote compass data, I found that COVID management and recovery was one of the concerns that was really reflected by young people. However, parties, though they tried to communicate their recovery and their plans for recovery from COVID, they did not communicate any specific messages that could, reach the young people or target them. So again, overall, their approach was very generic and mass-focused. An interesting finding was that despite the fact that the party as a whole were using mass-focused targeting, there were some individual candidates within the party that they were putting efforts for getting in touch with young. For example, in terms of the Green Party in New Zealand, Joyce Warbrick is one figure who was using all the appropriate channels and techniques for targeting the young people. That may be primarily because she is a millennial, and as I had the opportunity to interview her for my study. So she reflected that since she is a millennial, she understands the technology, she understands the messages, she understands the concerns of young people. So therefore, she was able to connect and communicate with them. And young people, again, reflected this in their comments as well. Also for 2020 elections, the ACT party within New Zealand, they used their deputy leader, Brooke Bander. So she was also a young person. She was a millennial, and she also attempted to connect and communicate with the young people. But again, there were other parties who did not use their candidates to form a relationship with young people. So forming this relationship, I found in my study and from analyzing the 2020 elections, is really important and significant, because young people are able to connect and with people who are actually relatable to them. And political parties, with few exceptions, do not realize the potential of these individual candidates. But having said that, there is again a disconnect regarding the communication of elites with the young people and these particular candidates. Because I guess, and in my opinion, and from what I saw in my research, that it shifts the focus from the main party to the independent candidates. And therefore, there should be an integration of the candidates' messaging within the party. And this is important for the case of New Zealand because we have MMP system. So there is a need to integrate individual candidates with the party's main message so that the party gets the vote of both for the party and for the individual candidates. Overall, this research and in the context of young people is very important and very valuable, I think, because young people and particularly first-time voters are valuable in upholding democracy. And once you get those people targeted, they will vote. And research suggests and reflects that once you've cast your vote for the first time, that develops the habit for voting later on in life. So targeting young people is important. Then there is a need to conduct more research in this domain, and particularly in the case of New Zealand, where there is a lack of research, and therefore it needs to be done, it needs to be acknowledged, and elites need to understand that young people are not as disinterested as the popular opinion, and they need to find appropriate strategies and methods to connect with them. So there's the model that I have proposed in my study, which is a 5C model. It offers prescriptive advice and ways that could be used for connecting with the young people, and will play a positive role in targeting them. I also discovered some other variables for my research which were outside the scope, but that they are like education and political interests. They also play a very important role in targeting young people, but that's something that will take a lot of time. So maybe we can just discuss that later. So that would be the end for my talk. That's it. Thank you.